Hey, we're back on Sports Bit. Betting Insight today, Paulie and Teddy. Monday, October 10th, another 4-in-1 week. More winners in the NFL. We'll get to that coming up. Big game breakdown, Monday Night Football. Everybody's hurt. Desperation Bowl. Tampa and Carolina. And can the Cubs sweep the Giants? Arrieta against Mad Bum. Great matchup coming up. And deep dive, we recap the weekend in college football. We start in the NFL every Monday, Teddy. And we start with a bad beat, the Patriots-Browns game over. This thing was going to the moon. Brady looked terrific. Bennett with the hat trick. Gronk had a big game. And then it completely died as Kessler got hurt and Clipboard Jesus came in.
And then Clipboard Jesus got hurt.
Oh.
You know, I mean, usually, as usual, Whitehurst lasts less than a game. Whenever he gets into a situation. But, I mean, 30 points scored with more than 12 minutes left in the second. Game couldn't get over 47.5. And, of course, there was a missed two-point conversion and a baffling missed two-point conversion. Being that when you're down 16, you don't go, or when you're down 17, you don't go for two to cut it to 15. It made absolutely no sense. And of course, two-point conversion. They're unhandicappable, Paulie, and yet arguably they're the single most important point spread play in football.
We've mentioned this on the show. This is going to be a scary New England offense when they get healthy, when they get everybody back. Well, so far so good with Brady throwing to those two monster tight ends.
Oh yeah, I mean Gronk and Bennett combined 11 catches, 176 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Bennett catching all 3. Of those TD passes. It was scary. Then again, it was Cleveland. Let's see him do it again next week when they take on the Bengals before we call New England the best offense in football. But they certainly looked pretty good yesterday, Paulie. They looked like we expected them to look with Tom Brady behind center.
No rust there, 400 yards, and they take them out early. A tough beat if you had the Bears. They're driving, they fumble, and that led to a Colts field goal that put it on 6, and the Bears had a ton of issues in the red zone. Hoyer put up big stats, but they couldn't finish in the red zone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Bears, 522 yards of offense. I mean, it wasn't really a bad beat. It was a tough beat, and there's a difference. I mean, the Colts certainly were on the right side in that ballgame. You talked about that late fumble to set up Indy. I mean, the Colts' scoring drive to cover the spread was a 1-yard drive. And then, of course, the Bears got stopped on downs. I think they got as far as the Colts' 25 before coming up short at the end. But, Chicago couldn't score in the red zone. They committed the game's only turnover, and they could not stop Andrew Luck with the game on the line. Luck and T.Y. Hilton were pretty freaking good on Sunday.
Yeah, all right, bad bets. Let's start with the Bengals. They were +1, bet up to 2.5. Blown out in Dallas. Couple late touchdowns made it look respectable.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the market certainly didn't respect Dallas coming in. We talked about that on Sportsbet last week. When the transition finally happens, and it may well be an overreaction, not an underreaction. The Cowboys just might be the flavor of the week this week, now that they have a quote-unquote real win. But don't be fooled by the final margin. Don't be fooled by that final box score. It was 28-0 Dallas. This game was over early. No-show for Cincy.
Yep, a perfect week in football for us. We went 4-0. You were excellent Friday on the play of the day with your analysis. This was Handicapping 101, a bad bet. The Eagles from +1 to -3.5.
Yeah, I wish I'd have done as well for my clients I did here on Sportsbet. But, we don't want to say we told you so. It's not about we told you so. But we told you so with that Lions-Eagles game. Watch Friday's Sportsbet play of the day discussion. It's a must-watch for the basic positive expectation NFL strategy. We talked about focus. The Eagles had 14 penalties. The Lions had 2. Although, I got to be honest, Paulie. Live betting and at halftime, yeah, I took some Philly in that ball game. Of course I did. I watched the NFL long enough not to trust the Lions. And kind of lucky that, 2 late turnovers for Philadelphia. Darius Slay making ridiculous plays on both of them for Detroit. There was no way that call at the sideline could have been overturned. That was a call that led to the Lions game-winning field goal. And then Wentz went for the bomb at the end. I really thought he was going to march down the field and take him into field goal range at least. And holding a Lions ticket, I was really hoping he didn't get a touchdown. But he went for it all on the first play, on first down, and it ended up being a mistake.
Yep, poor decision. His first interception. You had plenty of time, no reason to go deep there. And, hey, it's 2nd and 3 for the Eagles. They get the first down, the game's over. But they were stuffed.
Yeah.
They were stuffed, and then Matthews fumbled, which was huge.
And Stafford, unforced fumble. He played a clean game with the exception of that fumble. He didn't try to do too much. 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 INTs.
Bad for them.
That old question of who's going to get the better of it, Stafford or Schwartz. Stafford got the better of it.
Yeah. Bad for the books. Sorry for jumping in. Bad for the books. The Steelers, every parlay, straight bet, parlay card, they're bet up to 9.5, and they cover against the Jets. Jets now 1-10 all time against the Steelers.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest. I mean, you're right. Pittsburgh took a ton of money. They were on every parlay card. The books did not enjoy the Pittsburgh Steelers-New York Jets game. But if the Steelers can play defense the way they did in the second half of that ballgame, this team's downright scary. You talk about who's at the very top of the NFL in power ratings. I mean, you have the Pats, you have the Seabags, you have the Packers, and you have the Steelers. Those 4 teams. I think the Broncos and the Vikings still a notch or two below those teams. The Cowboy Falcons, maybe a notch or two below that. But Pittsburgh's right there. You can make an argument. New England, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Green Bay. When the Steelers play defense, the books are going to have to start jacking those lines up for Pittsburgh because they're about as public a team as it gets with all those high-flying offensive numbers.
Bad for the books continues. A lot of money coming in when you got to move off 3. Tennessee with the outright win in Miami. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Ryan Tannehill stinks.
Yeah, well, and look, it didn't move off at 3. It moved right through 3. Tennessee was 3.5, and it got bet down to 2.5 point underdogs in Miami. I mean, you don't see the 3 get crossed in the NFL very often. And, of course, the Dolphins, they got a punt return touchdown, and they still lost at home by double digits as favorites. Markets are about to crash on Miami. We saw some of that for sure in the Week 6 numbers.
Excellent job by the Falcons in their defense. Bad for the books. A ton of Atlanta money. They went outright in Denver. Well, Paxton Lynch really struggled.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons dominated that game, and it was all Atlanta money, +6 to +4. The markets weren't excited about Paxton Lynch's start, and Lynch, let's put it this way, he did not look good. He couldn't do anything. And I thought part of the key was Atlanta took the opening kick and hit a big play right away, and all of a sudden Denver's playing from behind. That's something they haven't had to do all year. When Lynch came in the second half last week, he was playing from ahead, playing from behind. He had a real problem. But the Falcons also, let's be real, they moved the ball against Denver all day. They found a weakness to exploit that no team has done. Matt Ryan threw for 267. 167 of those went to the running backs. They isolated the running backs against the linebackers. Worked all afternoon long.
Yep. The Bills from +2.5 to -2.5. They beat the Rams on the road. The Bills 3-0 since they fired Greg Roman and promoted Lynn to OC.
Yeah, and if you notice, we're talking about a fair few bad for the books results in the NFL on Sunday. There was a good handful. This game, certainly one of them, was nothing but Buffalo money. They had a pick 6. That was a bad result for the house. And, of course, that ill-fated fake punt late from, Jeff Fisher. We make fun of him consistently here on sports, but we'll just call it what it was. That was stupid. The defense was playing great. Despite the fact that only one Ram starter on defense played. Aaron Donald was the only guy. The Bills were able to run the football all afternoon, though. And the Rams, of course, -3 in turnovers, 1 of 4 in the red zone. And Fisher kicking the field goals, too. I saw you put a little note in there, Paul. You weren't a fan of many of Fisher's decisions in that game.
There's 5 minutes left. You're down 7. He kicks the field goal, 4th and goal. All right, you're still down 4. And then he does the fake punt way back in his own territory. That was the game. That was stupid by Fisher. Well, hey, the Chargers find another way to lose. Oh, no, the Raiders, 4-1 for the first time since 2002. They finally win a home game. A botched hold by the Chargers, and they lose. Well, they got the money. They lost by 3, but they couldn't win the game.
And that ended up being a bad result for the house. The house would have loved to see the Oakland win this game by more than 3 because it was San Diego money. But it's the Chargers just finding a new way to lose. It was a perfect snap. It's just a rookie holder. They botched the hold. Doesn't happen often. And it only seems to happen like when everything's falling apart for a team like it is for San Diego right about now.
Yes, up next, big game breakdown. Monday Night Football and the Cubbies and the Giants. And we'll get back to college and the deep dive on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts and shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
All right, back on SportsBit, Paulie and Teddy. Time for Big Game Breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Monday Night Football, Bucks and the Panthers. Split line as we record this. Carolina 5.5, 646 the total. 1-3 against 1-3. Desperation here. Derek Anderson gets the start. He can't run, but he's got the arm to get the ball downfield. Last starts, 2014, both against Tampa. 500 yards, 3 touchdowns without an interception. Panthers won both games. Here's a quote, Ron Rivera on Anderson. He's a guy that's had success in the NFL. He's been a Pro Bowl player. He's won a lot of games. He's played in a lot of games, and I think our guys just have a lot of confidence in who he is, end quote. Also played well in relief of Cam against Atlanta on the road. But, Teddy, Cam Newton's not the only guy who was hurt in this game.
No, he sure isn't. I mean, they're going to be without, Carolina's going to be without their top running back, Jonathan Stewart. He's still out with that bad hamstring. The left tackle, Michael Orr, he's got post-concussion symptoms. Their number one cornerback, James Bradbury, he's got a bad toe. Vernon Butler's going to miss his second straight game from the defensive line with a high ankle sprain. And, I mean, you talk about Anderson as sure, he's probably an above-average NFL backup. But he's no Cam Newton. Don't think for a minute that Carolina's going to get the same level of QB play. Even when it comes to throwing downfield, Anderson, a lot of chuck it up for grabs type of balls. We saw that in Carolina's loss last week. That Cam Newton seems to have a better chemistry with his group of receivers than Anderson does, although a week of practice may be able to solve some of those problems.
Well, Tampa's in rough shape, too. Cecil Shorts is listed as out, but they have 5 starters who are doubtful, including 3 starting defensive linemen, McCoy, McDonald, and Ayers. Also doubtful are Doug Martin, Charles Sims, both running backs, as you know, and the tight end Luke Stocker. I mean, this is a mash unit here.
Sure, but it's a mash unit, and they're playing sloppy football. You know, Jameis Winston so far, 8 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost. He's been sacked 10 times. And without Doug Martin, there's been no ground game to speak of. There really hasn't. Sims has not picked up the slack. And, of course, Sims isn't going to be healthy here. Only 83 yards and 28 carries over the last 2 games. And, of course, when you have a one-dimensional offense in the NFL, pass rushers tee off, which explains some of the ugly stats from Winston in recent ball games. But for as many problems as Tampa has, I'm telling you, Carolina's got all kinds of problems themselves. Their secondary may have 3 new starters this week, Paulie.
Yes, they cut a guy. They cut a starter last week. What's going
Ben
on
Orky,
here?
yeah.
Oh, my God. Josh Norman, he's ripping them on Twitter.
Yeah, the new look cornerback rotation is going to include the rookie Darryl Worley and Robert McClain. They're likely to be the starters on Monday night against the Bucks. And of course, you know, we talked about Bradbury being hurt. You know, Michael Griffin signed with Carolina last week. He could get the start at strong safety. Ron Rivera, quote, "We have all the confidence in what we've got. We really do. Just because the guys that are showing progress that have really stepped up. We'll see, though. You never know until you play." Carolina secondary, obviously a problem area against Atlanta. May well be a problem area here as well.
Well, Tampa, no defensive line. Carolina, no secondary. But Cutter said he wants to try to establish the run and get that going early. But you wonder how long he'll stick with it if it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, they stayed committed to running the football against Denver, which was kind of dumb because Denver stuffs the run. Carolina doesn't have, I mean, their front 7 is solid. Their secondary right now is bottom tier. One would think you would have a pass-heavy game plan here, but Cutter's been like, we can't do that. Winston's having a problem with that. We're throwing the football too much. It'll be interesting to see the game plan for Tampa Bay. And it's not like the Panthers, you know, you talk about Tampa with no defensive line. Carolina hasn't been able to run the football down anybody's throat this year. 4 games in, Cam Newton's their leading rusher. You look at Fozzie Whitaker and Jonathan Stewart and Cameron Artis-Payne and Mike Tolbert have combined 79 carries, 300 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 rush from that quartet longer than 20 yards all year. It's a tough game for me, Paulie. I mean, side's a mystery completely. Total, slight lean towards the over. I'd be more confident if I was confident in either team's game plan to be able to exploit their opponent's weakness.
Yes, very good there. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Game number 2, MLB. Cubs on the road to take on the Giants. Arrieta against Mad Bum. Giants $1.36 the total. 9 straight wins by the Giants when facing elimination. You know the streak with Mad Bum not giving up a run. But can they produce him? Can they produce behind him with the offense? They've been held without a run in 25 of the 27 playoff innings, yet to draw a walk in the series. Mad Bum 8-3 with a 1.94 career in the postseason.
Yeah, but say that again. The Cubs have not drawn, the Giants have not drawn a walk in 2 games against the Cubs. You know, that's like baseball 101. You got to get on base. And the Giants aren't a particularly bad team about drawing walks. The Cubs have done an amazing job thus far, and the Giants have been patient, as they should be. But, you know, when we look at the numbers for Arrieta this year, he's the number 3 starter for the Chicago Cubs here in the postseason. Drop off from last year. Last year with that 22 wins and a .177 ERA, you know, we expected some type of a drop off. He was still pretty good, although his numbers were significantly worse over the back half of the season than they were over the first half when he was red hot through April and May. Still 18 wins, a 3.10 ERA. But the biggest issue for Arrieta all year was his control. Last year, just 1.9 walks per 9 innings. This year, up to 3.5. Hitters learned to lay off his slider, and the slider was dancing outside. And that could be a positive sign for a Giants team that, again, needs to get on base with a free pass or 2 tonight if they hope to win this ball game.
Cubs bullpen's been dynamite. And Arrieta's been better on the road for what it's worth. Fascinating game, Teddy, because you have a guy who's the best postseason pitcher ever, but you know you're going to get Cubs money.
That's because the Cubs are always going to take money, and that's not going to change here in the postseason. They've been taking money all year. Recreational players are in love with the Chicago Cubs, even with Mad Bum on the hill. I would expect that we'll see, certainly at the recreational books, the Cubs take the money between now and first pitch.
Hey, what are you, a front runner? What's with the Michigan shirt?
Hey, you know, it's one of those things that I gotta wear it once in a while. What, they score 79?
78, I think, yeah.
78. When you score 78 points, I get to wear a shirt.
Oh.
You know, I don't have that. I don't like bring new shirts into the rotation very often. And plus, we're doing college football review next.
Yeah, that's coming up, and we'll get back to the Cubs and the Giants with the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Hey, SportsBit viewers, check out the MLB Odds Couple show for Monday the 10th. We've got 3 games on the card today. Mike Brenner and I have 2 picks each on 2 of the games. Did we touch the Cubs as a dog with Arrieta?
Ooh.
We could just tell him right now.
Nah, let's let him keep
You
thinking.
think so?
Yeah, keep him guessing, Pistol.
All right, tune into the show and find out for yourself.
That's right. And don't forget, guys, when you're all done over there, come on over here and cash some tickets as well.
All right, back on SportsBit, Paulie and Teddy, deep dive. Every Monday, it's college football recap. We start with bad beats. Well, this was brutal, Teddy. Kansas State and Texas Tech, a 4th and 16 PI on K-State, and Texas Tech scores on the last play to get inside the number.
Well, it wasn't the last play, because they actually recovered the onside kick.
Oh, sorry.
After they had gotten the PI on the 4th and 16 and then the touchdown pass. It was a real tough beat, you know, for K-State. I had K-State in my pocket. At the same time, look at the quarterback comparison here. I mean, Zach Ertz was not good, and Patrick Mahomes, who wasn't supposed to play, ended up being great. Threw for 500 yards. When one quarterback's throwing for 100 and the other one's quarterback is throwing for 500, and the QB who's throwing for 100 is laying doubles, you're not going to necessarily cover a whole lot of those spreads, especially because Kansas State had already scored a touchdown on a kick return, an interception return, but they settled for 2 late field goals, grinding clock, instead of staying aggressive and building a bigger margin for that 4th and 16 interception that got wiped out by phantom pass interference call that ended up costing K-State backers the money. Do I sound bitter? Yeah, I hope so. I am.
Yep. Jesse Ertz, not Zach. Zach in the NFL.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, this was horrible. I was watching this live when it happened. USC and Colorado. Colorado in the game because USC kept turning it over. But it's tight late, and Schuster's wide open. He could have walked into the end zone, Teddy, with the cover, but he falls down, takes the knee, and they run out the clock. Oh, that was brutal. The Brian Westbrook play back in the Philly days.
But you know what? It's the right thing to do, though. I mean, you can't hate a guy for playing smart, and USC doesn't play a lot of smart football, necessarily. That's a smart move, even though Trojan backers didn't like it one iota.
Bad bet.
Tough beat. Yeah, I mean, USC certainly was the right side there. They did not get the money.
No, bad bets. Maryland, they had nothing against Penn State.
Well, I don't know if they had nothing. their quarterback got hurt. I mean, Hills got hurt right before halftime, and then the ensuing drive, Sankey broke off a long touchdown run. There was a 3-point game to a 10-point game, and it was a complete killer. And then the Nittany Lions had, a 71-yard touchdown, and it was garbage time thereafter. Certainly wrong side money on Maryland. Yeah, some of that was mine too.
No, these two teams have been major disappointments. Iowa survives at Minnesota.
Surviving the Gophers took a ton of money, plus 1.5 to minus 2.5. Just like they were betting the crap out of Maryland, they were betting the crap out of Minnesota. Mitch Leidner, the senior quarterbacks that can't. I mean, he was weak as a sophomore, he was weak as a junior, now he's weak as a senior. Virtually identical quarterback ratings all 3 years against Iowa. 13 of 33, $1.66, no touchdowns, 2 INTs. All that Gopher money goes to the sports books.
All right, bad for the books. Lots of them. What we told you early in the week, Jimmy Vaccaro said this Hurricane Matthew is going to be a giant pain in the ass, and he was right. Notre Dame, NC State was a gift. Same with Virginia Tech and North Carolina. They were playing in a swimming pool at NC State. That total opened 68, bet down to 56. It was a 10-3 final.
Yeah, but I mean, look at all of them. The Army
Yep.
Duke under 48.5 got bet down to 43. They finished with 19 points.
Uh-huh.
Syracuse Wake, 57.5, only got bet down to 53.5. That one stayed 20 points under the opener from 57.5, finished 37. Virginia Tech, North Carolina. Tar Heels offense didn't work too well in the nasty conditions. 62 bet down to 49.5. These are huge moves. Fell 37. You talked about that Notre Dame, NC State. A 12-point move. They only scored 13 points in the ball game. The books did not like any of those Hurricane games. They took a beating on the totals.
Yes, BYU blows out Michigan State on the road.
Oh, yeah. Sparty was awful. And the sharp money knew it. The sharp money came all over BYU, +6 down to 3.5. D'Antonio's squad now on a 3-game losing streak, I believe for the first time since his very first season in East Lansing.
Yes, how about Bowling Green?
Oh, yeah. They finally get their first red cover coming through the back door. They took a ton of money, +14 down to +11.5. Not a good result for the books that cater to sharp players.
Here's another one. The dream's over. Oh, my God. Laying 18 bet down to 15.5. Houston loses at Navy. What the hell? They gave up 46 points.
Navy's tough to stop, and they're tough to stop when you don't see it every week. But a lot of midshipman money, and the Cougars' dreams of the playoffs are over. So we need to pay close attention right now to how focused they are between now and the Louisville Showdown on November 17th. And we also need to pay attention to how loud the Tom Herman to wherever rumors get now. I wonder if those rumors become too loud to drown out.
Yep, and we talked on Thursday's show, the college football preview, that Helfrich might go with the freshman quarterback. He did. It was nothing but Washington money, and they won 70-21. They end the 12-game losing streak against the Ducks.
Yeah, with a resounding victory in Eugene, and Washington -8, -10, and up to -10.5, -11. Nothing but Huskies money. And now, okay, the wise guys have been pounding Washington all year. They've been paying off like a hot slot machine. That hasn't changed. The books are going to have to work really hard to keep the public off the Huskies, because this is a team that is costing them money every single week, and the bandwagon just keeps getting bigger. Kind of like that Michigan bandwagon, as I wear my Michigan shirt tonight.
Oh, how about that? I've never seen... Well, come on. I mean, 27, bet up to 30.5. At William Hill, 98% of the bets were on Michigan. 78-0. Yards, 600-39. First downs, 23-2.
Yeah, it wasn't that close. Michigan really wasn't trying to run up the score in the second half. They were just handing the ball off. Rutgers couldn't tackle. The Scarlet Knights have been outscored 136-0 over the last 2 games. How do you build off that? It's going to be. It's already been a long season at Rutgers, and it's only going to get worse. But for Michigan, that bandwagon just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Books have not been able to make the line high enough yet on Michigan Wolverines games.
2 more, Teddy, before play of the day. Auburn, a 4-point move. Pick them up to 4. They won 38-14. Even worse, because LSU Florida was canceled. So this became the ESPN game, so the books took a beating there. And the Pirate does it again. It's a repeat of last year where they got up to the slow start, and now they amp it up once they get into conference play. They were bet down from 11.5 to 7.5, and they blew out Stanford on the road.
Yeah, this is the Washington State team that lost at home on opening day to an FCS foe. Again, but a ton of Wazoo money. I mean, 7.5. There were 7s. There were some 6.5s for a while for some late Stanford money. 42-16. It wasn't close.
No.
But it's clear the markets are now officially aware that the 2016 version of Stanford isn't very good, especially on offense.
Cue up Godfather Part 2. You owe us an apology, Senator. An apology. I owe the Blue Jays an apology. I wrote them off not once but twice. I didn't think the bullpen would get them into October. They sweep the Rangers. They move on to the ALCS, and the bullpen did it again. They survived with the error and extra innings, and a wild season for the Rangers. Best record in the American League, swept and outscored on the season. Congrats to the Blue Jays. Well done, and we'll see who they play coming up in the ALCS. Money time, play of the day. Back to Cubs and Giants, betting number 904. The Giants minus 130. It's a no-brainer until the Giants lose an elimination game or somebody beats Mad Bum. Keep backing the Giants. Posey and Mad Bum have been here before. Season on the line. Arrieta's struggled in the second half. Giants, and what a great price with Mad Bum at home, minus 130. That's the play of the day. Jimmy Vaccaro coming up tomorrow. Recap how the books did, and we'll recap everything. Market moves, injuries, everything coming up on Tuesday's show. We look to stay red hot. Football now 27-1 on the season. We'll talk to you then.
That's not right. We're not 21. We're not 27-1.
27-1.
Oh, gotcha.
Got me? Yeah.
20,
I know. All right.
20 hit. I'm like, Todd, we've had a good season,
yes,
but 27-1's a little bit much.
Yeah, sorry. There was a pause in there. That is the one push, yes. We'll talk to you Tuesday on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.